Welcome to the Way Out Tarot. This will be your timeless general reading for wherever you have Leo in your chart. Before every reading, what I ask for are messages that you need to know. And I encourage you to use your intuition and your knowledge of your own experience to attach meaning to / interpret the messages that come through. I do read intuitively, and I would like to thank you all for your kindness, for the likes, and for tuning in and for subscribing and joining me on this journey. If you would like to support this channel, you may do so by watching the ad at the beginning, the middle, or the end of this video. Donation is not required. But I wouldn't say no. Anyways, the links are below. You have time today. You know, you don't have any problem putting somebody in their place. You don't have any problem doing whatever is needed, whatever is required to get the thing going, to get the job done. Whatever it takes. It doesn't matter. You will say the thing. No matter how hurtful. But it's interesting, you know, like there is a very thin line between geniuses and madmen, they say. And I do think that this is the way that some people may see you. They recognize your talent, they recognize your capability, they recognize your ability to lead. They recognize the fact that you know what is right, or you know how something should be. But at the same time, some of your ideas may be unpopular. Some of your ideas are sharp. They cut like a knife. The nerves of all who encounter them, of all who come face to face with them, especially if it's a water sign. Be careful with other people's feelings. Be careful with other people's lives. Not everyone is, be careful what you choose to sacrifice, or who you choose to sacrifice. Be careful. I don't know why there are so many warnings coming through with this. but there's something here about what you consider an expense. There's that saying that, you know, no one is replaceable, or excuse me. Maybe that's the way that it meant to come out. But the saying goes that no one is irreplaceable. But yeah, I do get the impression here that someone, either you or someone very close to you, is in fact difficult to replace. Just be sure that you're not the one that is leading people to doom. Yeah. And you might be wondering, how could you do that? Maybe it's not something that you think that you're capable of. But an idea is a very powerful thing. An idea has the potential to reach farther and wider. And have more effect and influence than man can. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff here. Feel free to skip ahead to when we're actually talking about the cards, because I have a few more to pull. Just taking all this in, and oh my gosh. Okay. I think we'll take those two that actually flew on the table. We'll look at all four of these, because these are dope cards. Okay, what are these two? Wow. Okay. All right, just one more, and we're gonna talk about this. All right, we're just gonna pull one because one of those doesn't really want to come out. Okay, so Theo, there is, it sounds a bit corny, but follow me on this, an ability that you have that is so unique, so strong, so powerful. Like, it's an understatement to call it foresight. It's an understatement to call it simple intuition. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. It's one that flows through you, one that is generational. You could have inherited this ability. You could have inherited this level of protection, this ability to be guided and to guide others from those who have come before you. There's a kind of know-how that you have here that's on display that is so, I don't know if you're very influential. You're very influential, and it's like when you walk a certain way, there are people that are walking behind you. You have followers. And you have followers. There are people who hang on every word that you say, who do exactly what you think the right thing to do is, even when it isn't right. And those times when it isn't right are a given, because none of us are right 100% of the time. That level of perfection is impossible. That level of perfection belongs to God alone. We must remember that. There have been, and will be times when you don't get it right. And you must be just as willing to accept the consequences, the ramifications of those particular outcomes, just as willing as you are to accept the potential gains. There's something here that you have to take credit for. There's something here that you have to take ownership of, for better or for worse. There's a kind of calamity that is brought about upon one's house and home because of a perspective, because of an attitude of possessiveness. Maya Angelou once said that love liberates. It frees. It doesn't shackle. It doesn't reign. Now, I want to look at these oracles a bit more closely because a lot going on here. Okay, so we got Sun in Taurus, Moon in Scorpio, Mercury in Scorpio, and also Mercury and Aquarius. So there's a very unique intuitive gift that you have here for sure. That's what comes through with me, or comes, yeah. I feel called to, where is it? Stand by. I feel called to read. There's just one of them that I want to take a look at, and it's this. And it's this power card. The gateway here is very, it's calling to me. So we'll read it in the personal meanings behind this card as it would relate to someone with this placement. You don't necessarily have to have this placement for this to apply to you. And then we'll read it how it applies to events. So Moon Scorpio people have very strong feelings and form lasting emotional attachments. Intensely loyal, they are, however, susceptible to brooding jealousy and strong emotional outbursts. The moon is traditionally in its fall in Scorpio, so this is not a sign in which emotions are freely expressed. Often, an immense conservation of emotional energy is released in an insane and extreme manner. People with this combination can hold a grudge longer than most, but find no sacrifice too great for a loved one. Moon Scorpios can at times be overwhelmed by intense emotional reactions and an almost psychic sensitivity to others. These qualities are helpful in developing an aptitude for healing and counseling. Certainly, with all this emotional energy, Moon Scorpions find some kind of work helping the less fortunate fulfilling. Family matters are rarely smooth for people with this aspect, often involving seemingly causeless separations. Moon Scorpios are potentially very sensual, and when overindulged, this can lead to problems. With the extreme emotional power that this combination engenders, the old adage that Scorpios make the most powerful friends and most destructive enemies becomes a reality. When this card is drawn, it usually involves emotional fireworks, passion or hate, enthusiasm or indifference. There is rarely a middle ground. Often the card indicates an inheritance that could radically change life. In terms of events, powerful emotional situations, a secret is suddenly revealed, psychological problems, an inheritance, love turning to hate, or hate turning to love. So, very intense very intense energy coming with this card. Really, this could go either way, but there is a huge, there's a turning point here. We got the bones for cast. We got the bones for casting card, divination, altar, honoring, ancestors, wisdom, and amplification. So this is why I say, it very much looks like an inheritance of some kind. You guys could be praying. You could be praying, and your prayers could be, they're being answered. There is something that you are being given here, something that is amplifying within you, a kind of wisdom of the ancients, and it's the will of the gods for you to have it. I feel like this reading is bigger than me. And I know that there are some concepts in here that I can't grasp because I'm not meant to. And it's up to you what these messages, what this reading will mean to you, how you will use your power, how you will use your influence. History is filled with influential men and women, some who used their powers for good and others who used it for destruction. Those who used it to unite, those who used it to lead, to forge a path ahead to greater, a path of spiritual evolution and emotional depth, compassion, gratitude, and it ended up being a remarkable representation of what the human spirit is and how the human spirit can be, the nature of it. And there are those who have used their influence to oppress. People and snuff out the lives of others in pursuit of whatever it is that they were seeking to personally gain. History remembers them as the villains, and you could argue whether or not they play a role. Well, they would have to. Of course they do play a role in the evolution of the masses, even if their only purpose is to serve as an example of who we shouldn't be, what we shouldn't do. So you have a choice. We're going to start with the Magician. For me, empowerment is defined by the ability to do the right thing, whether or not you have it. Whether or not you're ready to live that life, to be that way. The Five of Pentacles showing up in a very similar spot in your reading to the Hierophant, I should say. Showing up in your reading in a very similar spot to the Cancer read. We got Two of Swords, Ace of Pentacles in reverse, the World in reverse, and the Eight of Cups in reverse. So you don't know what to do to make them stay. For some reason, everybody is running away. They're looking for greener pastures. They're looking for the promise of something better. The kind of peace that they don't seem to be finding where they are. Choose love, not war. Choose compassion. Choose life, not death. Is the advice, but that's not what's actually being done here. What's being chosen is rebirth. What's being chosen, what's being created is different, is it a different way? 10 of Pentacles, or excuse me, 8 of Pentacles, it's a different approach. It's a different kind of language. Not sure if you're familiar with The Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit trilogies or even the Rings of Power, but the language of the orcs, they call it black speech, and that's kind of what's coming through here. It's a kind of language that is so nasty. It's like that's what needs to be focused on. That's what needs to be worked on. And I don't know that this is you. I'm not saying that. And I guess it's kind of hard to believe that when I'm talking about it in your reading. But this is all energy, and what I'm speaking about is the root of the discomfort. If the question is why people are leaving, it's because they are being driven out. It's because they are being called out, they are being called away. Their souls thirst for freedom, their souls thirst for understanding, for compassion. 5 of Cups. what I can say is someone very important is leaving. That much is certain. And there's a lot of disbelief. Someone has gotten away. Queen of Wands could be a fire sign. Could be you. So you feel very strongly about the situation, to say the least. You feel like you have to defend your beliefs. You feel like you have to defend the things that maybe you think that you've earned. Maybe you think that you're entitled to have. There's a song that I know Adele did a cover of it, but it's called I Can't Make You Love Me. It's coming through. This is all one story down here, so we'll take a look at that next. There is no one else that you can look to, that you can look to. There isn't anyone to blame here. And this reading as well is also not about blame and to place the blame on you. I get that this has just been think of this as an honest conversation about how life can be when we really diagnose a problem, when we really diagnose what the cause of it is. We begin to see even more clearly the different forms that the symptoms can show up in, and we also get very good at recognizing the positives. That lie therein, what can come from understanding, what you can achieve by way of awareness, what you can achieve by way of practice, by building this particular muscle and seeing in this particular way. Much of the messages in this read, as I said, are a bit bigger than me, and I'm not sure what they mean, but I trust that they mean something to you.